This was the most reading I've done for any video ever. Hey, super friends, Jake here with the Brave and the Boys, and today we have a special video for you. Probably the video, like I said, I did the most reading I've ever done for. That is my video on the best compendiums for new and old readers alike. Now, for those of you new to the format, a compendium is a large collection that's normal trim size, so trade paperbacks trim size. They can be soft cover or hardcover, but they are hands down the best value in comics. But here's the thing. They are loved by a lot of people and they are hated by a lot of people. So if you hate compendiums, don't think of this as a list of the best compendium video. We'll make you a little secret video. This will be the list of videos of compendiums that deserve an omnibus. So some of these will be in different formats. We'll talk about what formats they come in, what they collect, and why they are the best for new and old readers. And yeah, so you see there's like 15 books on this list. That's just the ones I picked for the list. You can imagine how many I read that didn't make the cut. So yeah, you do a lot of reading on this channel for books that never even get talked about. So if you're new to the channel, welcome to the Brave and the Boys. We cover collected editions and all comic goodness. So if you like the video, consider leaving a like, a comment, sharing, and if you want to support us, watch it all the way to the end. That's the best way to let the algorithm know you love this content and the community that we're building. And as always, our sponsor, Panabon Comics, and our Discord are linked down below. So let's dive in. Coming in first is a comic that needs no introduction, but it's going to get one anyways. That is the Death and Return of Superman Compendium. Now, this has been collected in every format you can imagine. There's a snazzy omnibus. There's a Tombstone-looking Absolute coming out later this year. And yes, we did get a compendium. Now, the reason I'm doing this first, even though I said if you hate compendiums, there's still value in this video, is I want to show that these two books cost very different prices and collect the exact same stuff. So they have the same number of issues. Now, Death and Return of Superman was one of the most giant blockbuster comic events of all time. It made the news. There was news articles about it. Everyone was in mourning. This is the story where the Man of Steel dies. He faces the monster Doomsday and he perishes. You get to see how the other heroes and Lois and his parents would react to the passing of the greatest hero in the world. And then you get to see the pretenders, the people that try to step up. And what I love about that, that's in the Return of Superman portion. You have different characters that all represent one aspect of Superman. So you have the Eradicator, who represents his Kryptonian heritage. You have John Henry Irons, who represents his humanity. You have a snot-nosed brat that you fall in love with. And you have Cyborg Superman that represents his power and his strength. You get to see why none of these pretenders can be the new hero, and you get to see his triumphant return. Now, I want to say, when this first got announced, we all had one question. Does this have the famous fold-out page spread of Superman, spoilers, dead in Lois's arms? And yes, it does. Every moment on the Battle of Doomsday is bombastic and large. It's all practically dripping in double page spreads, and even in the compendium size you get this awesome storyline. So I cannot recommend this enough. I should tell you guys the price difference. This has a cover price of $150. This has a cover price of $59.99, and the only difference is paperback and standard size. Next up is Irredeemable by Mark Waid and Peter Krause. There were some other artists later on, but this is a fantastic story that's great for new or old readers alike. This tells the story of the Plutonian. He's definitely an allegory for Superman, the greatest hero on their Earth. And a little bit of context, this was written by Mark Waid, the legendary writer behind Kingdom Come, and this was definitely a series that he created with Boom to further explore some of the themes he first wrote about in Kingdom Come. In this one, the Plutonium, the greatest hero of all, snaps and goes insane and murders millions of people. What would the world do if Superman lost his mind and went insane? The story jumps between the past rampage and present day, where they're trying to uncover the clues. It's a mystery, a whodunit of what's going on, and you slowly start to get this unraveling of what should be the greatest hero of them all. He has all the powers of Superman, but he has a terrible ego, and he lets people get to him. Imagine if Superman was reading the comments that Reddit likes to write about to make people feel bad about themselves, or blogs, and he actually flies to them and responds to them. That is how bad the ego is. And when you combine that with the most powerful hero in the world, that is a recipe for disaster. This is awesome. So imagine if Kingdom Come and Invincible and Injustice had a baby, it would be this. It starts to feel cliche in some parts, and then it pulls the rug out from underneath you, and it makes you think it was going one way, and it goes a different way, and I loved it, and you fall in love with the characters. And it's funny because Mark Waid loves Superman, and because he loves Superman so much, he knows how to write a Superman allegory as a great villain. There is a sequel. I have not read the sequel. I would love to, but this is definitely one that I hope they reprint in an omnibus someday. Next up on the list, we have the greatest science hero of them all, Tom Strong. This is actually my most wanted DC omnibus edition. We do have a compendium. It is currently out of print, but they did solicit a sequel to this, which is all stuff I've never read, so I'm super jazzed about that. But I'm definitely hoping we get a reprint of this and in larger formats. This was written by Alan Moore, one of the most prolific and legendary comic book writers of all time. It has art by Cole Sprouse. And if you ever read Watchmen or some of Alan Moore's other works and think Alan Moore hates superheroes, you have to read Tom Strong. Alan Moore started America's Best Comics, and there he got to tell the story of not superheroes, science heroes, and you'll see them later on in this list. And this tells the story of Tom Strong. Think of him like a modern day Doc Savage mixed with Superman and all the other great heroes that you can imagine. He has an awesome wife, a daughter, a talking gorilla, a robot, and he helps protect this retro future city. Think of it like Mr. Fantastic from the Fantastic Four, and you get to see his awesome life from him being a child and being raised on an island to him being a great hero. And you get to see the world, and it changes, it jumps around. Some issues are one-off tales, other issues are overarching, and it is just peak comic goodness and fun, and you definitely have to check it out. So sometimes they release an omnibus first, and then later on give us a compendium. This time, they gave us a compendium first, and I guess it sold so well, which it's a no-brainer, it's an awesome story, that we got a full omnibus. So sometimes I feel like they test the water with a compendium. Other times they give us a cheaper format after omnibus has been out for a while. But let's talk about Philip Kennedy Johnson's Superman Warworld. This is going to take place during Action Comics, and it tells the full story of Superman going to the Warworld planet that was home to Mongol, one of his greatest villains, because there are people who have ties to Kryptonian heritage that are enslaved there. And then you get so Superman goes to that planet, even though it does not have a yellow sun, and he's depowered, and he just has to use his humanity and his normal strength and his heroism to become a gladiator and fight in gladiator arenas, do an uprising, and you get this awesome storyline. Now, here's the thing. I actually read this first in the compendium. Now, there is a couple things that are included in the omnibus that are not included in the compendium, such as Superman and the Authority, which was actually a really fun storyline. Can you read the compendium by itself? Yes, you can, and you'll get the full Action Comics run and the Warworld special finale. But if you read the omnibus, you do get a larger, fuller story with some more tie-ins and more context. But trust me, if you're balling on a budget, this compendium is the way to go, and you get 80% of the story. Think of it like this is the theatrical cut, and then you get a longer extended cut if you want to dive deeper. And that's the beauty of a compendium, is it doesn't have to collect everything an omnibus does, but it can be a much better value. Now we are moving on to another Alan Moore ABC comic, Top 10. Top 10, I went in completely blind, and it absolutely blew me away. So Top 10 takes place in a alternate world where every single person in the world and all the other dimensions and everywhere is a science hero. They couldn't say superhero, so they called themselves science heroes. They all have superpowers. Because of that you're not all superheroes. You just work a regular job. So if you're a speedster, maybe you deliver the mail. If you see the future, maybe you give investment tips. And it tells the story of a rookie cop joining the police precinct. Now, they solve random, crazy, kooky crimes, and you get to see all these amazing homages and parodies and satires of superheroes, but it's not done in like a negative way. It's done in a way full of love. So this is done by Alan Moore. You're going to have Gene Ha. You have Xander Cannon co-credited as well. And I love this series. It used to be collected in a super out of print absolute, which I did get signed by both the artists, but they reprinted it and collecting more stuff in the compendium. Now, again, all the ABC stuff I feel like deserves deluxes or omnibuses or whatever, but this top 10 is a lot of fun. So the first series is 12 issues. That's the main series where they're solving an overarching crime as well as one-off crimes. You're going to get some other spin-offs, which are completely different and 1,000 miles away, such as Smacks, 49ers, and some of the minis. But every character is just so great. Like, there's random moments like one woman gets superpowered mice invading her apartment. So what does the exterminator do? He gets superpowered cats, and they evolve into a crisis level event. It's that kind of bonkers kookiness. Their police chief is a dog, Robot Man. It is a lot of fun. Like, they solve the crime of a god, but the god gets murdered all the time because it's Norse mythology and stuff like that. So it is a lot of fun. But I will say it does tackle on some adult themes. So if you're into that, go for it. It's a lot of fun. This one's for you, Mitch. We got Usagi Yojimbo. Now, this was done by Dark Horse, and I want to talk about this. They were collected in these amazing, beautiful, signed and numbered, so there's a limited of them, hardcovers that have been out of print and go for hundreds of dollars per volume. And there's a lot of them. There's 9 volumes plus one called Legends, so there's 10 of these bad boys. And I had a talk with my wife, and she's like, I will divorce you if you try to buy them all. So you know what I did? I bought all the paperback ones. They're $20 versus $400. The exact same trim size, the exact same page count, and the only difference, not hardcover, not signed, not numbered, but I get to stay married. So Usagi Yojimbo tells the story of a rabbit who is a ronin. He was a samurai, but he got disgraced, and he has to travel the world, this fantasy world full of little critters and creatures, and he tries to live by honor. It's mostly done in one-off tales where he's fighting bandits or helping spirits move on to the afterlife, or just generally being a good dude. You get to see a host of returning characters and one-off characters, and it is just all done in beautiful black and white art, written and drawn by Stan Sakai. Jake, insert the picture of you and Stan Sakai right here. Future Jake editing. So this is a lot of fun. There is a Fantagraphics 2-volume hardcover that's also a lot of fun, but for pure value, this much comic for this cheap of a price is a no-brainer, and they were out of print for a little bit. They reprinted all of them, so I think I have all of them except maybe the Legends one. After 9 volumes, I lose count on if I have all of them, but it is just it's just an awesome Ronin rabbit that travels feudal fantasy Japan, being a badass swordsman with honor. Next up is Invincible. Now, Invincible has hit the world like a hammer of Thor, and it is exploding in popularity right now. And I want to talk to you about the original way I read it, and that was Compendium. So after the first season of the TV show, I craved more, and I was going through a really dark time. I had the worst break of my life, one of those breakups where you just go to work, come home, lay in your bed, and don't want to do anything. And I was like, you know what? I'm buying the Invincible Compendiums because I love the show so much, and I just sat there and I binged the whole 144 issues in a week. So it was a blur to me, and it's fun because I've gone back to the story a few times, and I get to experience parts of it brand new again, because since I binged it originally so fast, there were some parts that I kind of mixed together, blurred together, but it is an epic tale. It starts out as a teenage superhero learning from his father how to be the greatest hero of them all, the hero Invincible, and turns into a brutal space saga with wars and aliens and dimensions and bad guys and good guys and anti-heroes. It is incredible. If you've watched the show, it is insane how little they've covered and how much we still have to go. It's insane. So it is 3 paperback compendiums. They did come out with hardcover compendiums. We are getting an omnibus. Now, should you wait for the omnibus, it's going to take a long time for all 3 volumes, be a lot more expensive, and so far, it's going to include 1 single issue with Spider-Man that is not in these. So if you're into that, by all means, go for it. I'm gonna buy them too, but I have the library editions. So Invincible was done by Robert Kirkman by Corey Walker and then famously Ryan Otley. Jake, insert the picture of you and Ryan Otley together in the remark that you got, so it's a tax write-off. So Invincible is a lot of fun. It just builds. It starts out as a pretty small tale, and by the end, it's covered thousands of years, the greatest battles you've ever seen. And if you like the TV show, you're gonna like the comic even more. Next up is Saga. Saga is one of the greatest comics of all time, written by Brian K. Vaughan with art beautifully digitally painted like watercolor paintings by Fiona Staples. This tells the story of a intergalactic war between two alien races, and there's so much propaganda and war and turmoil. They would never see the other side as even human or whatever alien species they are, as you know, as someone equal to them. And what happens is a soldier from either side, people destined and fated to hate each other and be mortal enemies, fall in love and have a baby. Now that is going to upend all the propaganda, this whole system built on war, and that means every guard, every soldier, every royal king that has a head for a TV, that has a TV for a head, every bounty hunter in the world is going after these two young lovers that just had a baby. So it's like trying to build a family when the universe is not on your side. There's amazing characters, gorgeous art, and it is an amazing story about how love perseveres through all. Now, it is incredible. This compendium collects the first 54 issues. After that, they did take a hiatus. There is currently 3 deluxe editions, and I love them. Couldn't find them after the move. They're here somewhere. But I would love an omnibus someday, or even library editions, because Fiona Staples' art deserves to be seen in the largest size possible. Now, if you're balling on a budget and you want to save space, this compendium has everything before the time jump, which is incredible that you get this amazing story. And it reads so fast. Like, it's so impactful, but you just binge through it. I told myself, you know what? It's been a few years since I've read Saga. I'm just going to flip through the book and, you know, re-jog my memory on what it's about. And I just accidentally read the first 30 issues again because I love the story that much and the characters are so special. There's been a lot of superheroes on this list, but now we are getting a gritty, dark, vigilante storyline. This is Killer Be Killed, done by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. They are probably and arguably the greatest duo in comics. Everything they read is a must-buy, and Killer Be Killed is phenomenal. Now, there is an oversized deluxe edition that has been out of print for a long time. I want to thank Baba Yaga so much for sending me a copy. That was super cool of you. But the compendium is an amazing way to experience this story. Ed Brubaker wanted to tell a story of a vigilante, so he wrote the story of a troubled teen, and along the way, accidentally wound up writing a really poignant story about mental health and its effects on everyone around us. So the story starts out with a really troubled college student. His life is in a dark pit of despair, and he decides in his darkest moment to end his life. He jumps off the top of a building ready to end it all, and he's miraculously and embarrassingly survives and gets this weird snafu. He gets, wow, I have this new lease on life. Everything's going to be good, until a demon appears before him and says, "You're welcome. I saved you. Now you need to kill someone for every 30 additional days you want to live. That's your rent." And that is all in the first issue. I'm not going to tell you anything more about the story. It's an unreliable narrator. It jumps all around, and it tells one of the most addictive, bingeable, compelling stories I've ever read in 20 plus issues. So you have to read it. I do love the deluxe edition because a lot of the Brubaker oversized books don't have Phillips art go all the way to the edges. This one does, so I really hope they reprint it someday. It is a gorgeous book, but the compendium is such a value for one of the best stories in comics. Those of you that know me know that Nightwing is my favorite hero, and I gotta give some love to one of the OG Nightwing runs. This is Chuck Dixon and Scott McDaniel's 90s run on Nightwing. Now here's the thing. This should probably get an omnibus someday, and I hope it does, but I was just happy to get these stories in a format that I could read, and they are cost effective, and I love that. So this is the story of Dick Grayson going out on his own and going to Bloodhaven, an even more, if you thought Gotham was corrupt, Bloodhaven is even more corrupt, and becoming a hero in his own right. There's awesome moments of him in the costume and out of the costume, and I just think it's a lot of 90s acrobatic fun and goodness. Now, I will say it took me a little bit to get into Scott McDaniel's art, and that is okay. Not everything needs to be blasé to the point where it makes you feel nothing. Scott McDaniel's art is exaggerated and bold and in your face, and I don't think the digital coloring did it justice, but I grew to love this run. Now, is it the best Nightwing run of all time? No, it's not Tom Taylor. Am I the biggest fan of the creator of this run? Not really. But you know what? This is one of the most iconic and definitive Nightwing runs of all time. And if you are looking for a compendium for the person better than Batman, this is the way to go. Next up is, I think, Jordan's original compendium that he owned, the Walking Dead compendiums. So this is a very special series and a very special format for us here at the Brave and the Boys. Jordan and his grandma used to collect the compendiums when they would come out, and he would read them and then tell his grandma about how much he loved the series. I read The Walking Dead for the first time like a few months ago, so I have very different relationships with The Walking. I never really watched the TV show, but The Walking Dead is like comic book crack, because once you start it, you binge the almost 200 issues of this comic. This is again written by Robert Kirkman. The early issues were done by Tony Moore, and then Charlie Adler was the main artist on the series. It is done in black and white. They are releasing single issues and upcoming compact classics that are colored, so maybe we'll get colored compendiums someday. But I actually I don't like a lot of black and white comics. Clip that, everyone's gonna hate me, get in the comments. But this really fits the George Romero zombie vibe. So it starts out with a sheriff waking up from a coma in a hospital, and he finds out the world was overrun with zombies, and he goes out to find his wife and son. Now, that could have been the whole comic run, but he actually finds them pretty quickly. That's the one spoiler I'll give you. The thing that you find out about this series is the scariest things, the most evil things, aren't even the zombies, but it's the people that remain. So if you've watched the TV show and you were a fan or you weren't a fan, still give this a shot, because it is completely different. I felt like when I did watch the show when I was younger, it was just people standing around talking. This is not that. This is Game of Thrones level, where you'll fall in love with a character that's like a main character, and then they'll kill them off brutally, and you're like, oh my god, nobody is safe, and you get to see the humans survive and try to find shelter and home, and it is not an easy journey for them. So this is in every format, from box, trade, paperback sets to library editions that I love, but the compendiums are the most cost effective. There are some times that we wish and something deserves an omnibus, and they only give it to us in a compendium. Now, that is okay. At least they're still giving us these amazing stories in a physical format, and Starman is one of the greatest comics of them all. This is James Robinson's comic about Jack Knight, a reluctant and unlikely hero. He's the son of the Golden Age Ted Knight, the original Starman, in Opal City, and he never wanted to be a hero. He thought the whole thing was kind of corny and dumb. He just wanted to buy antique furniture and sell it. He wanted to get tattoos on his body, and he wanted to wear cool jackets. His brother was the one that always dreamed of following in their father's footsteps and becoming the next Starman. So the issue 1 opens with Daniel Knight, the brother of Jack and son of Ted, on one of his early days as Starman, full hokey costume and everything, on top of a rooftop, and he gets assassinated. Now, the entire time that Daniel talked about following in their father's footsteps and wanting to become a hero of his own, Jack would tease him and make fun of him. He thought the whole thing was stupid. And when his brother gets assassinated, he just wants to run. He doesn't want to get assassinated too, and he gets thrust into becoming a hero. He grabs the cosmic rod and a cool looking jacket and decides, you know, I'll just be a hero this one time to avenge my brother's death, and becomes a hero. What makes this book so special is that it's an ongoing story. There are one-off adventures, but there's a full narrative here that was building. You get to see the relationship between a father and a son who don't really get along and don't really understand each other. Maybe they love each other, but I don't know if they necessarily like each other. And you get to see their awkward moments of them trying to connect and bond. I'm not super close with my dad, and that was something that really spoke to me when I read this. And I love the fact that he knows he doesn't act like a hero. He knows he doesn't look like a hero, but he becomes the hero that Opal City needs. Now, there were Starman omnibuses, so if you see out there, there's 5 Starman omnibuses. Those predate the omnibus craze. Those are actually standard size hardcovers, and they're long out of print. I know Omar, near my condition, this story is very near and dear to his heart, and when he had a contact at DC in the past, he really tried to sell them on making this as an omnibus. And if DC, if you make this an omnibus, it will sell. But right now we do have 2 compendiums that are the full storyline. Now, it's a lot of fun. I definitely think everyone should read it. And it's cool in the compendium, but DC, you gotta give us something oversized. Last and not least, my most wanted omnibus from Image Comics, if they ever decide. I literally told someone high up at Image that if they sold an omnibus of this, it would sell like crazy. East of West by Jonathan Hickman and Nick Dragotta. Now, I missed the boat on East of West. There were 3 deluxe editions that were gorgeous and oversized. And when I went to Heroes Con, Chris was so excited to get his deluxes signed by Nick Dragotta. I only knew Nick from Absolute Batman, who I was starting to fall in love with. Now, everyone I talked to said East of West is amazing. East of West is amazing. So I said, you know what? If I'm doing a compendium video, I have to read this chonker of a book. And you know what? I read it in one sitting. I binged it the entire day, all 45 plus issues, and it is incredible. So what is this story about? This is Jonathan Hickman at his most cerebral and godlike. This is Nick Dragotta experimenting with things that I feel like he would go on to use with Absolute Batman, and it is a crazy story. So this is an alternate version of America where the Civil War didn't really end like it did for us. You have all these different fractions such as the Union and the Confederacy. You have the Kingdom of New Orleans and the Endless Nation. So you have all these political, like Game of Thrones-esque fractions splintered around America, and they're all united by one thing: the message of the apocalypse of how the world will end. Now here's the twist. The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are reborn to kick off that apocalypse. Only one very key member of them, Death, is not along with the plan. Death has a whole backstory that you'll get into reading this story, and he's the protagonist that we follow. He is on a quest for revenge and to find the people who wronged him, and a quest. I can't tell you anything more than that, but oh my gosh, this is like meeting a shaman and taking ayahuasca to see how the world will end. And I feel like binging it in a day, I only got bits and pieces of it, but everything I read was amazing. Some of the coolest art I've ever seen, coolest writing I've ever seen. I don't remember the last time there were over 30 characters in a book and I cared about all of them in different ways. This is incredible. I would love an animated TV show of this series, and please reprint the deluxes. They're my current whales, or give us an Omni, because East of West is incredible. And I don't know if this will pick up. Jordan will give me a thumbs up. I got a little remark. So thank you, Dragotta. Nick Dragotta is on fire right now with Absolute Batman. Jonathan Hickman is in the stratosphere for popularity. This needs a larger format in print. So if I could do anything with my little platform that we have, Image, if you see this, please give us the deluxes back or give us an omnibus. And we made it to the end. Thank you so much for watching. This video was a lot of fun. I hope you got inspired to buy some of these or to read them in a different format if you don't like compendiums, but that's okay. Every format is loved on this channel. So thank you so much. If you like this video, we'll do a giveaway. So comment down below what your favorite compendium is, and you'll be entered to win a PBC gift card. We'll let it run for a few weeks, and then I'll let you know who won and send out the, we'll do 2 gift card giveaways this time because we can do that. So thank you so much for watching. Our Discord and Panel Bound Comics are linked down below. If you're new to comics, welcome to the best hobby in the world. And if you're a long-time reader, I hope that there was at least one new book on here that inspired you. So thanks so much for watching. Keep reading and stay brave.